Gentlemen and ladies, this is Tom from Numbers Game Lifestyle, and today we're going to talk about, are hotter women nicer? And what I've noticed is, and I'm sure a lot of other guys that have done a lot of cold approach day game, you will notice that the hotter the woman tends to be, the nicer they are in terms of like your overall approach when you start talking to them. They tend to be pretty pleasant. And this is in a daytime environment where you're talking to a person, out of the blue at the grocery store, on transit, on the street. This is not in, night game scenarios at the bar where women are drunk and they're constantly being harassed by men. That's a completely different story. I'm talking about women that you meet during the day and you start a conversation with them. These women, like the more attractive women, tend to be very pleasant to talk to. And I've had all these theories about like why that is, and like why it's so much easier to talk to like very attractive women. And when I look back at all my like really uncomfortable, awkward approaches or awkward rejections, it's always been with, somewhat less attractive women, kind of like the average. And I never recall ever being, rudely, rejected by a really attractive woman. And I started wondering, like, why is that the case? Like, why do, attractive women tend to be very pleasant? And when you think about it, it's not that hard to explain, right? Like if you are an attractive woman, you like the way you look, you're happy with life because, let's face it, pretty much everybody is going to treat them really well. All the men are going to like want to talk to them and be nice to them. Women are going to want to like hang out with them and be friends with them. Well, in some cases, there'll be a lot of like backbiting and things like that as well. But generally, people treat, attractive women very nicely. So they really have no reason to have like a kind of bitchy personality, because when people talk to them, they're very pleasant to talk to them. People aren't trying to hurt them or, screw them over in most cases. So yes, I believe this is why attractive women tend to be the most pleasant when you approach them during the day. Because they really have people don't treat them badly. They're not rude to them. People tend to be very pleasant to attractive women, which is why like they really have no reason to have any kind of, suspicion or negative energy directed towards you trying to talk to her, because they tend to be pretty happy people. Now, I'm not saying that every attractive woman just like rolls through life completely without any problems, but their day-to-day life, their conversations with strangers and people that they meet tend to be very pleasant. Whereas, let's face it, less attractive women, they're not used to being talked to, people coming up to them and trying to get to know them. So they're less used to like people, talking to them. So of course they're going to be awkward, they're going to be closed off. They're going to be like nervous and suspicious. And yes, generally these people don't have as much experience. Like less attractive women have less experience with men hitting on them. And the approaches that do happen tend to not be as pleasant as, an attractive woman when she gets approached. So this is why like a lot of the times, like even in your day-to-day life, think about women that maybe that you work with, or, like go to school with, wherever. Women that Look at the women that are most abrasive. The women that, like really make your like, it's really tough, like talking to them. It's really like, it's almost painful. You don't want to like go out of your way to talk to them. And guess what? Usually they're not very attractive. It just goes hand in hand. Like it happens over and over. Just think of all the women that you run into The ones with kind of like very abrasive personalities that you're like, oh, like it's tough, like having a conversation with this woman. They tend to be less attractive. I don't know why this is. Yeah, it's probably because in order for them to get results, like get what they want from men, they have to be very like upfront, very masculine in what they demand. Whereas an attractive woman, she doesn't have to be abrasive. No, she just goes with the flow. She just acts really nice and sweet, and people give her what she wants. And that's why like the majority of like very attractive women tend to be very sweet as well. And the very, less attractive women tend to be very like more abrasive, more like demanding, more like masculine energy. Because that's how they get what they want, right? They can't rely on their like feminine charm or, just being good looking. So they have to, be more of a like demanding, be more assertive. Yeah, both qualities that are more masculine as well. Anyways, so when you're out there on the field, looking for people to approach, maybe it's you're new, like you don't really understand, you've never done this before, you never talked to women out of the blue before, cold approach or day game. Start off with the very attractive women. Like go out of your way to talk to very attractive women because they're going to be most likely very pleasant to you, provided that you like come up to them and approach them in a like calibrated way. You're not just being like, hey, what's your number? Which is what I see a lot of guys doing out there. Like, hey, my name's Tom. Like, what's your number? Like all this stupid approaches. Ask them general questions like what they're up to. Like, what do they have planned for the day? What it is they're doing. Ask questions on that. And yes, I even seen, like not even my experience, I've watched, because a lot of guys do day game in my area. It's very like common to see guys approach hot chicks. Men are very aggressive in my city. And guess what? I've seen completely like below average men, because let's face it, a lot of the like men that kind of start off cold approaching tend to be kind of below average. I've seen them approach hot chicks, and guess what? These women tend to be very receptive. They're super warm. They respond really well to these like essentially unattractive men, starting a conversation with them. And yes, they're just being nice and they don't really get anywhere with them, but it's a very like positive experience because these women are very pleasant. It doesn't matter if you're unattractive or attractive, they will treat you very well in most cases. So yes, this is how you like really get your feet wet. And when I think back, like all the times that I've had really awkward rejections and really like weird like reactions, it's been from women that haven't been very attractive. So don't be intimidated by these really hot chicks that you see, these hot women that you see during the day. Get to know them, talk to them. You'll quickly realize that these are the most pleasant women around. A lot more likely to be, warm and receptive than, less attractive women. All right, guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching.